Hello everybody, it is Corgi here, and I wanted to talk about something that I've made a couple of videos for. I'll link this one in the description below, but it's about the StopKillingGames.com website. I've actually made several videos, but I'm a very small creator, so it's not like, it really got much traction or anything. But, I'm passionate about it and talked about it in many streams because I've been a gamer since literally the early 90s. I was born then. I grew up on NES. I grew up on Apple II. I grew up on DOS. Using DOS boxes now and stuff to play old games. Everything in between. I've been playing games since then, and I've kind of made it my mission in life to hopefully take this full time as well. I'm a very passionate guy. But I am nothing compared to this wonderful man here, Ross, from Accursed Farms, who's made some great fun YouTube content for a very, very long time about, he did, a Half-Life thing. He's played, old, abandoned, really, old games and showcased them and everything like that. He's a real one, and I really, really appreciate that. Anyways, he started a petition to save gaming. And he started this with, a myriad of different ways, and then finally it all culminated in the StopKillingGames.com website that he created that had this giant 1 million vote petition that the EU, the government of the EU, would have to listen to. It's a very, very fascinating thing, and a very, very cool thing as well. So, by the way, if you guys are unsure what it is, just go to StopKillingGames.com. Go to it now. Go to it all day, every day, because it is still a great website, and this is a very, very worthy cause. However, we are not talking directly about how worthy the cause is, though we'll get into that, of course, as well. What we're going to talk about as I scroll through my millions of tabs, sorry, I create a lot of YouTube content for you guys, so it makes a lot of tabs. What I'll be talking about tonight is this very unfortunate situation with pirate software Thor, as he talks like this, because he is the one who essentially killed the StopKillingGames.com movement. When I made that video, it was like 9 months ago. You can see on the YouTube channel. That was the update. So that was like one of the more recent videos about it, and I've covered it several times. So I've seen the movement for StopKillingGames.com grow and change, and as the petitions move forwards, and some of them fell apart, some of them did not, and the main one kind of rose out of the stack. And Thor, Pirate Software, made 2 videos about it and completely derailed the conversation by getting many of the discussions wrong that were literally just, answered in the FAQ. And we'll go through some of those examples as well. But, it's right here. I just, before we go into any detail, I wanted to point out where the answers to his misconceptions, in my opinion, purposeful misconceptions are. But we're going to start with reading his recent, post. I had his post up, but he deleted it because, I guess he couldn't stand any kind of dissension or anything. I don't really know. But it's very clear that he's on the wrong side here, and wanted to talk about it. I don't hate Thor, by the way. I don't dislike him. I find his other takes decent. He likes to, he tries to say that he's a proponent of saving games, and he's a proponent of, us, the gamer, the little guy. And in general, a lot of his takes are fine. And he, championed one of my favorite MMOs, Ashes of Creation. So I have no dislike for the guy, by the way. So if you're from Thor's community or anything like that, please know I'm not having any animosity towards him in general. I just don't like this aspect of what he says because of how he says it, and because of how bullheaded he's being. And stubborn. Let's get into it. Pirate Software says, "Sup, Accursed Farms. I put out 2 videos disagreeing with your initiative 10 months ago, and haven't talked about it since. First of all, I'm going to pause here. We know you put out 2 videos of sheer misinformation 10 months ago, and anytime anyone brought up hey, you got this point wrong. Hey, misconception. Hey, maybe you should discuss this. Hey, look, I think you're looking at this the wrong way. Things like that. I've been in Pirate Software streams. Those words will get you banned in his stream. And, those comments removed on the videos and everything like that. It is freaking crazy how pressed he is about it. So he hasn't talked about it since. And the problem is exactly that. He hasn't made an update video. He hasn't done anything but shit talk the StopKillingGames.com movement and Ross himself for being a proponent who is respectful the entire time as well. And that is our big problem with it. So anyways, we're going to continue. Now your initiative has failed, and you're blaming me for 33 minutes of the hour-long video covering it. This take is insane to me, by the way, because he's saying, yes, I ruined your movement, and those videos got 1 million views, and all of a sudden, let's go back to the number here, because when the StopKillingGames.com movement had hit Pirate Software's purview, it was at like 350,000 or something like that. It was at a lot of votes 10 months ago. That was a long time ago. And after those videos, like very few initiatives and petitions, very few votes went for it. Very few signatures. This killed the momentum. If you look at just numbers and you look at exactly what happened in the timeline, this is exactly what happened. Pirate Software's videos did kill the momentum. Now, I mean, he seems to really hate the movement, so he should be fucking proud of it. But regardless, he's acting like he's done nothing wrong. And look, if he believes in what he's saying, then he has not done anything wrong, particularly, at least in his mind, then he should own up to it. Like, I mean, at least own your shit, bro. Like, come on. Anyways, I wanted to continue his verbiage before we continue it. So your community is out in force, shitting up our streams and socials with hate messages, threats, and snide comments. Now, of course, Pirate Software is a very large creator, and of course, his attitude rubs people the wrong way. And as a large content creator who can be polarizing, yes, he's probably getting some hate comments and things like that he should ban. And anyone who does that is not really doing the StopKillingGames.com movement any justice. They're not doing Ross any justice, and they're not doing game preservation any justice. So they should shut the fuck up. They're not really helping. And no one should be threatening or being stupid to anyone regardless. That all being said, Pirate Software is not getting nearly as much hate as he's acting. Because, like I said, I'm in his streams, I'm in his Discord, I'm in his community. I see the comments that he bans. And he will ban people for just saying, hey, have you reached out to Ross? He'll ban that shit. He will ban a lot of things, which, is like completely innocuous. And he's like, oh, I'm getting hate rated, oh, I'm getting hate threatened. It's like, dude, this does not count as hate of any kind, man. Like saying, maybe you should rethink your position and talk to Ross is a very level-headed take. No one's saying, fuck you, Pirate Software. They're saying, hey, I think you might be mistaken on this. Moist Critical just made a video, and he's like, I probably should have covered this sooner. Frankly, yes, he should have, but I'm very thankful that he finally did. That kind of like restarted this entire discussion. So very thankful to Charlie, Moist Critical, one of my goats, for bringing up this conversation once again. And the list goes on. A lot of the large content creators refuse to even look at, and I'm talking about the big boys. I'm talking about, Markiplier, PewDiePie, so on and so forth. All of those big heavy hitters refuse to even go near this conversation because of Pirate Software's size in the community and because of his strong take against it. Even though his take was completely incorrect. His misconceptions were incredibly biased, incredibly skewed, and incredibly erroneous. And we'll talk about exactly those things as well. This is going to be a long one, boys. So I don't know if you know me, but I'm Cap Corgi. If you're new here, I stream every single night. I care about video games. Like I said, I have a long history with gaming, and I've been streaming for about 6 years. And I cover gaming news. I cover the good aspects, good companies making good games, indie games, you know, all that stuff. But I also cover the dog shit. I'll also cover Ubisoft when they do something stupid, EA, you know, any kind of gaming thing that has affected us gamers negatively. I'll cover that as well. I'll talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, always authentically. So if you like that vibe, drop a follow on Twitch, where I cover this live, Capcorgi on Twitch, and a sub here, and give this video a like and a comment as we continue this conversation. And also, please feel free to comment anything you like or dislike. If you're a Pirate Software like super fan, as long as you're respectful, please leave a comment. Tell me where you think I'm wrong, and I will happily always engage. I'm not like Pirate Software. I won't delete your fucking comments. So please engage. I would love that. I love to talk about gaming. I love to have disagreements, civil disagreements, you know. You know, I make plenty of polarizing content. I stand my ground saying, I don't like this aspect of a game. I don't like this monetization policy, or I do like this, or whatever. And so I will have people butting heads with me all the time. And as long as they're not calling me a slur, I don't care. Like, I'm happy to talk. Since you're so set on cutting up my responses into pieces to try to make it seem unhinged, I'm going to drop my videos here to show the actual context. Feel free to, by the way, watch Pirate Software's videos. I watch them both, and the subsequent videos where all he's doing is just shit-talking the movement and not really making any real points. But the actual two videos, the main ones that he made, you know, they were lengthy, and he goes into detail about, like, what he feels about the movement and where he feels is wrong and so on. And feel free to watch those. Don't watch my take on them if you're worried that I'm going to be biased or anything like that. Watch his own words. Watch anyone else covering them as well, because, like, we're talking about the actual issues here. And so no one's trying to make him seem unhinged or anything like that. Like, that dude, like, that's neither here nor there, man. It's crazy. But yeah, regardless, there's a massive pinned FAQ on the first video that you can read through my reasoning. To go back to you, if you're going to hate me, at least hate me for what I'm actually saying. We're using your words. We're looking at your videos, Pirate Software. Please, come on, man. The only engagement that I've seen that is level-headed has been Louis Rossmann. His video breaks down what I dislike and try to meet in the middle with a conversation that made sense. And as such, I engaged with him on that video as screenshotted below. So I've seen the Louis Rossmann video, and Louis Rossmann is relatively level-headed on you know, his take, but he's very much siding with the StopKillingGames.com movement. And a lot of the problems, and Louis Rossmann is a great guy. He is a very pro-consumer guy, and he will rant poetically about anything that he thinks is anti-consumer in any realm, whether it's like Disney or gaming or movies or, you know, streaming services or whatever. He runs the gamut, and, like, he is like the king of that. And I'll link his video because Louis Rossmann is an actual GOAT. And for sure, like, definitely look at his video. But when you look at his video, you will find that two things. First of all, he's quite in the middle. I mean, he's definitely leaning towards StopKillingGames.com and the entire movement there. But he's also trying to see Pirate Software's points and see where Pirate Software might be confused. And he thinks Pirate Software is confused in several parts. And then later on, Ross makes a video answering all of Pirate Software's issues and, you know, potential misconceptions, very respectfully. No shit-talking whatsoever. I'm doing way more shit-talking than Ross has ever done in his life. And Ross is, like, way too nice. And Louis Rossmann's, a lot of his questions were answered in that video. So I will link those, watch them in order, and watch them completely, because, like, this is absolutely poisoning the well. And I hate this. I hate this when anyone does this. And frankly, I expected Pirate Software to have done fucking better. Like I said, I'm a member of Pirate Software's community, man. Like, I've fucking played with him on Ashes of Creation on his server. Not his server. Well, the server that he was on before they, you know, combined the servers a few months back. And so I played with him in video games, technically. You know, I wasn't in his guild or anything, but, like, you know, I was hanging around and everything. He was pretty nice in that. And, you know, I've made, you know, all kinds of other comments on his videos and in his community and everything like that. And everything's been copacetic, no biggie. So this is a very weird take for me to see from Pirate Software. It was a weird take for me to see from the get-go. But, like, he's really, like, there's something disconnecting with him, either with this movement, where he just doesn't agree with it on a base level, and he's creating all kinds of excuses, or it's because he's a game developer, and he's making a game that is a live service game, so as a result, he doesn't want to shoot himself in the foot when he makes a live service game, which makes his thought process inherently biased. I'm talking to people that are level-headed about this and can have a conversation, but to be real, dude, every time you've been involved, your orbiters turn shit toxic instantly and set me off. No one can, like, corral their community, and no one can corral a giant movement of, hundreds of thousands of people. And Pirate Software knows this more than anything, because I've received more hate from Pirate Software viewers than I've received from Accursed Farm viewers, or freaking Asmongold viewers, or OTK members, or anything. Because I've dipped my toes into a lot of different communities talking about a lot of different polarizing things. And on my previous Pirate Software videos, I've had to hide a lot of comments because they're literally calling me slurs and shit. But do I blame Pirate Software for this? No. So why he's doing this is insane. He knows better. He's been a content creator for years. He's been a content creator for longer than I have. He's been a content creator, and he's been in the gaming world for a very, very long time, working in the gaming community and everything. So this is like a weird, like, super defensive take where he's trying to drum up sympathy. And I really don't like this kind of emotional manipulation that he really dives into in this comment and his videos and everything like that about this one subject. Every other subject he's relatively decent on, even if I disagree with them or agree with them. But, like, this is just, like, a little, like, way different. He takes this very, very personally. And beyond that, again, I've seen the comments. Sure, there's some unhinged people, but the very vast majority are not. And Ross himself has been level-headed every single time. The only time he's not been, like, super, like, bending over backwards trying to be nice was the most recent video that was, like, put up one day ago, this one. And this one, he's, like, actually, for real, like, finally fucking verbally hitting back for once, and it's made a big difference. And I wish he had done this, months ago, Ross, but he has actually, done himself a disservice by not defending himself for 10 months. But I'm glad he's finally doing so now. But, like, this is the only time you'll ever see Ross, like, actually, talk negatively or anything like that. He's not even being insulting. He's just saying, you're getting this wrong. Like, why are you getting this wrong? Anyways, but yeah, level-headed every time. So this is not true. This paragraph is just not true. And I can see why he deleted this fucking post, because all of it is fucking wrong, okay? Why do you think I haven't talked about this shit in 10 months? It's because he already said his piece. He didn't want to go back into it because he knows he's wrong. And he's stepping down, 10 toes down on what he feels he's already said, and that's pretty much all he wants to engage with. And anyone else that comes by and even talks about it, he bans. This is why. By the way, I'm answering his question. Why do you think we ought to mute anyone bringing it up in chat? He admits it. He admits it. Because it's been rage bait and shit flinging the entire time. Untrue. You're on Reddit, had people openly talking about causing drama in our community to try to stir up more support. 2 random Reddit posts does not make a movement, okay? The vast majority of people were, like, actually decent. It's absolutely insane, man. It's absolutely insane. But yeah, and going back to the actual discussion, let's see how Pirate Software himself handles the conversation.
Of him.
Oh shit, no, this is actually really dumb. It's used car salesman garbage. This is shit. It's shit. Not only do I not want to back this, I'm going to actively tell people not to.
It keeps going.
That is awful. That is a horrible goddamn direction. That's awful.
Dude. It doesn't stop.
No. Eat my entire ass. The level of stupid...
It's 2 videos of nothing but shit slinging. 2 whole videos. Watch the actual videos. This isn't out of context.
That I just had to receive was like sitting on Twitter for 12 hours. This shit sucks. That's a really stupid-ass move. That's an incredibly stupid-ass move. I think this is ass. This is complete garbage. All of this can eat shit, then. I
So
dropped the mask
level-headed,
entirely.
guys. Man, I can't
I
believe
have no qualms
Pirate
about that.
Software is
They
so
could eat my
level-headed.
entire ass. The whole thing. That sounds stupid as shit.
So if you think my verbiage about Pirate Software is harsh, it's nothing compared to what he says. He already compiled it, so I'm going to give my own responses, but I wanted to actually get Thor's words. It's hard to find exactly everything he said in 2 videos. And so, yeah, forgive me for that, but, you know, we're doing it. We're doing it how we're doing it.
So for those who don't understand, the Stop Killing Games initiatives is basically we don't want single-player games
No.
to have
This is not true.
DRM that the developers can turn off and
There's many different sections for Stop Killing Games, and what he's talking about is 1%.
render the single-player games inactive anymore. This is what they want to change. They need to be.
This is not what they want to change. This is not what StopKillingGames.com is about. What is StopKillingGames.com about? It is about video games that rely on servers the publisher controls in order for the game to function. This is a lifeline to the game, and the publisher can turn that off at any fucking point, okay? When publisher decides to turn it off, it's dead. The game is dead, okay? That's what the game is about. Where do you see DRM in this? Where's DRM? Where is it? It's fucking nowhere, man. It's fucking nowhere. Here, I'll open all of these up, and we'll Control F and see where DRM is. Let's do a little online magic. It's called fucking search function. Let's do it. We're opening all of these babies up. Every single one of them. All right? Control F. DRM. Whoa, what is that sound? Man, DRM isn't in the FAQ at all. All right, let's see if it's in the EU petition, guys. Let's see if it's in the EU petition. Control F, DRM. Whoa! It's not in this at all? Oh my god. Okay, let's go to the actual EU petition as opposed to the top site. Let's see where DRM is, guys. Let's see where DRM. This is the big boy right here. This is the big boy. Show more info. This is a big part of it. And then this is the web page as well. We're gonna look it all up because I'm very complete on these things. Okay. Control F, DRM. Oh my god! Whoa, that is crazy. No DRM? My god, that is wild, bro. And here's like the full information right here. Here's the full information. The organizers, the objectives, everything. Oh my god. Whoa, that is crazy. This initiative calls to require, and by the way, this is not previous games. What Pirate Software will also talk about is, oh, you can't expect us to go back to all the games that are finished and fixed. No one's asking for that. No law will be retroactive. This is about future games and publisher having a basically an exit strategy to the future games that they make, whether they're single player live service games with microtransactions, whether they're actual straight up MMOs and other traditional live service games, or whether they're games that have an always online component. Just some way for people to at least be able to play the game in a limited capacity in some way, shape, or form. And by the way, if you plan this correctly beforehand, which is what this petition and what StopKillingGames.com movement is trying to do, it's a lot less work than retroactive. If you're doing it retroactive, it's going to cost companies a lot of money, and it'll be a pretty hard thing to do. But if you're doing it in the future, so a game being developed right now will know that they'll need to have a sunsetting plan at some point when they decide to leave the game and not develop any information for it anymore and not really support the game anymore. Then they'll have to have an exit strategy. Developing the exit strategy and in the development time is not nearly as difficult and is a fraction, an absolute pittance of the cost of developing a game. A lot of these games cost hundreds of fucking millions of dollars of money. Doing this kind of small thing to make sure that your server binaries aren't going to be shredded when you sunset a game and you have like various other subcontractors that are working on various parts of your game to provide the game to your audiences and stuff, and just making sure that that's relatively easy to detach so people can make like a fan server or something like that, which has been done time immemorial without any help whatsoever, and frankly sheer antagonism from most game publishers. That's all we're asking for. That's literally all in this type of situation. Nothing else. Anyways, requires specifically the initiative seeks to prevent the remote disabling of video games by publisher, the forced obsolescence, which is, forcing a game to be shut down, killed, and no way to really, like, get it back ever. A lot of my favorite games were hit by this. Marvel's Heroes was an ARPG that was awesome. It was basically the Diablo 2 creators. A lot of them left in the making of Diablo 3 because they thought Diablo 3 was going to be dog shit. They were right. And they decided to make their own game. And they made a Marvel IP game called Marvel Heroes that was Diablo gameplay. You're playing as Wolverine, slicing and dicing. You had special moves. You had gear that you would equip. All these gear had stats. You had a gigantic skill tree. The game was awesome. I played the shit out of that game. I'm a huge Marvel guy. When that game shut down, it was done and dusted. And people lost all of their cosmetics. People lost everything. They lost all their files. They couldn't play the game. You couldn't even log in. You couldn't do shit with the game anymore, period, full stop whatsoever. It was absolutely pathetic. I wonder if it's in my Steam library. It might still be in my Steam library. I'm not sure. Marvel, no. Yeah, here we go. So, yeah, they changed it to Marvel Heroes Omega. I did 1,300 hours. By the way, Marvel Heroes Omega, you go in, there's no login. You can't actually play the game. I've tried. I used to love this game. And they made it like a mobile game version and everything, and they ruined the game, and then they shut it down. It was one of the most depressing things. 1,300 hours. This game died because there was no exit strategy, no plan whatsoever, or anything. And most games are like this. Most games, you have no chance, no shot to ever play it. The fact that we have Ultima still alive is because of fan servers. The fact that we have World of Warcraft Classic, which Pirate Software himself fucking played like crazy. So he knows, and he worked at Blizzard. The only reason we have that fucking game is because of fan servers creating their own version of Classic WoW. And it kind of spurred Blizzard to, they saw the opportunity. They're like, wow, like fucking 100,000 people signed up for this random fan server that we shut down. And they keep shutting down the fan servers. Maybe we should do this ourselves. And then they did it officially. And guess what? It revitalized the World of Warcraft community like nothing else. Classic WoW was fucking huge. And why was that? Because of essentially us fighting against the disabling of old video games by the fucking publishers. Obviously World of Warcraft still existed. It was retail, though, in a completely different form. And Classic WoW is a completely different thing. So how they got, how these Classic WoW servers way back, the original, the unofficial ones, how they got those to work, I have no fucking clue. I don't know what kind of necromancy or magic those people did. But without those things, without what Pirate Software hates and is directly fighting against, he would not be able to do Classic WoW himself. And I think deep down he knows it. And I don't know if someone's brought that up to him. But, probably someone has and they got banned. So, he's not going to listen to it anyways. But yeah, going on. The initiative, specifically initiative tries to seek to prevent the remote disabling of video games by publishers before providing reasonable means to continue the functioning of said video games without the involvement from the side of the publisher. We're not saying that the publisher has to spend their money and keep alive a failed game. They just have to, A, not attack anyone who's making a third-party version of the game, which happens with any fucking Nintendo game. This happens with any fucking Sony game. Those people fight their copyrights like crazy. For fan-made games that they haven't touched in like thousands of years, that they're probably going to lose the copyrights for, they still don't care, Nintendo and Sony, just as prime examples, but many other companies do this. And as a result, people are left with nothing but like trying to emulate and so on and so forth. And they get attacked for this. So we're asking for people to not get attacked for that. And then also we're asking for, at least an off-ramp, some way for us to be able to do it. Even if it requires specialized hardware and software, the publisher, could have a list. You need this, 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 and this. It's going to cost you $50,000, and we're not going to provide that for you. That's fine. Us fucking crazy-ass video game fans, a lot of us find a way. And at least if you give us the possibility to do it, then we'll figure out any fucking way that we need to do it for whatever game we're passionate about. Would I spend $1,000 to be able to play Marvel's Heroes again? Yes. Yes, I would. If I had to buy a specialized box, which if I press that button, it's $1,000, and I could press that button and make Marvel's Heroes work again, I would do it in a heartbeat. I spent 1,400 hours in that game, man. I love that game. It was one of my favorite games for an entire span of like 4 years. I would absolutely do that. And a lot of us would. Do you have a game that you miss? Whether it's a racing game, or an MMO, or a live service game of some kind, or even a single player game that had an online component. They decided to just completely destroy the entire game because of that. Because this entire thing, by the way, is caused by a game called The Crew. And The Crew has a massive, single player component, but it had like an online component as well. And because of the online component, the game is just completely delisted, and no one can play the game, even the single player mode. If a game has a single player mode that has an online component, StopKillingGames.com is just saying turn off the online component and allow us to play the single player game. That's fine. Even if the single player game is dog shit compared, where it's like playing, Repo with one person. It's like playing Phasmophobia with one person or whatever. It's not made to do it, but we can suffer through it and at least enjoy it a little bit, even for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, an hour, 3 hours, whatever. And if we're getting killed by ghosties or whatever because it's not balanced for us, we're not asking you to change the balance of the game. Make us suffer through it. I don't care. I mean, like, dude, Marvel's Heroes Omega, original Marvel Heroes, was not made to play single player. It was made to play in big groups for like a lot of the dungeons and stuff. But I would play every single part of that game, including the raids, with one person if I could, myself. That's all. We're not asking for anything crazy from the publisher at all, and it's reasonable means. This is a very broad term. And this is a term that Pirate Software takes specific animosity towards, and you can see his words about it in any of his videos, because he says it's not specific enough. The reason it's not specific enough is because this is a petition. This is not a law. This is supposed to be very vague, because reasonable, how they use reasonable doubt and so on and so forth and all kinds of law terms, this is what you do in law terms. You provide leeway that can be actioned upon. This is how it's supposed to work. It's here for a reason. But yeah, that's just another point. Without the involvement from the side of the publisher. The initiative does not seek to acquire the ownership of said video games. Period. The associated intellectual rights or monetization rights. Neither does it expect the publisher to provide resources for the said video game once they discontinue it, while leaving it in a reasonable, functional, playable state. It's very simple. That is it. That is literally it. Nothing else. Nothing else. And for some reason, Pirate Software's own games that he likes, in this case, Meet Your Maker, got shut down in the exact same manner that he's talking about. But how does he respond? He responds by actually misconstruing the StopKillingGames.com movement, yet again, saying that StopKillingGames.com would not fix the problem. And as a result, don't bother me about StopKillingGames.com, even though StopKillingGames.com would have saved Meet Your Maker. The user-generated content game where you make dungeons and other people play in. Without a large player base, the game becomes instantly stale due to lack of dungeon variation. That's fine. This is fine. This is what we want in StopKillingGames.com. Even if it makes the game stale because it's a game made for other people, it doesn't matter. We're finding our own enjoyment. It doesn't fucking matter. We're not asking you know, people, the publishers, the makers of the game, to bend over backwards to suck our dick. We're just asking for the ability to play the game without it being fully shut down. That's period. All it is. Full stop. Okay? You cannot preserve games' true intention by saving the files. Yes, you can. Because at some point, you'll be able to host servers where you can put things together and so on and so forth. Like, this is the exact point of StopKillingGames.com. The exact point of StopKillingGames.com is that if Meet Your Maker was in the situation of StopKillingGames.com, say StopKillingGames.com had passed 1 year ago, and, you know, the makers of Meet Your Maker were required to have an off-ramp, they would be, you know, told to provide some kind of off-ramp for people to at least be able to play the game. And if we can play the game, we might be able to create a way to share the files with each other. Even if it took 50 hoops. Even if it took like 70 different ways to do it. Or whatever. Gamers fucking find a way. I have installed on my computer a fucking DOS box where I have to create a second version of an old desktop from like 1995 in order to play old-ass games of shareware games from 1995. One of my first original roguelikes, Castle of Winds. That's how I play that fucking game. And it's a dog shit game, but it was one of my nostalgic parts of my childhood, and I still go back to it, man. There's a series called Avernum, and it wasn't called Avernum originally. It was called something else. It was called Exile, the Exile series. Now it's called Avernum and Avedon. Avernum and Avedon, they're related. Regardless, it's like a CRPG. You control a party, you know, like Baldur's Gate 3, but way before Baldur's Gate 3, and you go through an adventure and so on and so forth. Avedon and Avernum fucking suck. They simplified the game process from the original game like crazy, and they take out a lot of the RPG mechanics. So I don't play those games. What I do is I play the DOSBox version of the original Exile games. Why? Because they're just fucking better, and you can't play the original Exile games in any way, shape, or form without doing DOSBox. At least that I know of. Maybe there's another way to do it, and I just didn't know about it. If there is, shit, if you know what I'm talking about, and I'm not speaking Greek, leave me a comment. Leave me a comment in the comments below and let me know, because I fucking yearn for that game, and I don't want to have to create a DOSBox every single time I try to fucking play it. But regardless, this is the type of game that would be saved. Okay? Like, just having the game files available is part of game preservation, which is something that Pirate Software says that he's for. But all of a sudden, when it's some situation that he's not super into, he fucking hates it. It's absolutely diabolical how much he misconstrues it. This is exact, because, oh my god, I can find a forum where people have shared their files for Castle of Winds, the roguelike that I talked about first, or Exile, and they're sharing like their party that they had and blah blah blah, and I can install those save files. Do I have to jump through 50 different hoops in a DOSBox to do it? Yes, but I can do it. So you, even if you have a hollow husk, which is the situation that I'm talking about, a lot of times us gamers find a way past that. We can do things peer-to-peer and so on and so forth. There's a lot of different ways to do it. And a lot of games create that functionality when they have game developers that give a fuck. There's many different examples of completely shut down games that figured out a way for us to be able to enjoy the game in a very, very limited capacity, even after the game was shut down and no longer supported or anything like that. And it's been very wonderful every single time. And some of those games are still alive to this day for that one fucking reason. This isn't about preservation, it's about a waning player base of a game that I enjoyed. He's just changing the conversation because he knows he's wrong. This is the fucking problem. This is absolutely the fucking problem. In this case with Meet Your Maker, it doesn't even make sense, because like Mario Maker is the exact same type of game as Meet Your Maker. It's like you're making your your stage, and you're sending it to a friend and seeing if they can do a challenge run, right? And when Mario Maker was preserved, all of the ability to do the maps with other people and everything was also preserved, and it wasn't a big fucking deal. So you could have saved that as well. But Pirate Software won't even admit that. It's the same fucking way to save the game as you would save Super Mario Maker. And Super Mario Maker was saved in that way. But this is my point. And we're going to continue back with, the other points that he makes.
Specific that they're talking about single-player games that do not need a server to support them.
No.
And as much as they wanted to be about specifically games where it is a single-player game that has always...
I didn't talk about single-player games for more than half of my conversation. I'm talking about single-player games because he's bringing them up. But most of what we're talking about is live service games that are, completely shut down. And, being able to play those as well. In a capacity that has an off-ramp from the publisher. This has nothing to do with DRM.
Always online functionality. It would impact every live service game that exists. Instead of just targeting single player.
And he's wrong. But if it targeted every single live service game, which it is in a different way, good. Good. Don't you hate that when you are not able to play a game anymore, it's dead forever and you have no fucking recourse? You lose every single microtransaction that you spent. You lose every single thing that you spent. Basically, we're renting a fucking video instead of playing a game. Like, doesn't it feel that way for you? For all, any old MMO that you played or so on and so forth? I fucking hate that feeling, man. And one would think that some person that talks about how much he cares about game preservation, he would think the same way. But he doesn't.
Always online games.
No, that's not what it is. Stop Killing Games includes
Includes. This is my point. Includes.
player games, but nothing about it is specific to them. He completely made that up, and I have no idea where he got that impression.
Remember, I looked at every single page of StopKillingGames.com, and I tell you, please do the same thing. And Control F, DRM. You won't find it fucking anywhere. Period. Full stop. And again, you're not asking people to support games forever. You're not asking people to be licensed and liable and so on and so forth. It's actually insane. Majority of multiplayer games in the past functioned without any company servers and were conducted by customers privately hosting servers for themselves and connecting to each other. All we're really asking is for the capability to be able to do that again. That's it. And it's not hard to do if you do it in the development time. The games that are dead, they're dead. Ross knows this. I know this. Everyone who is in the community knows this. We know we're fucked with those games. We're talking about losing the future games. We're talking about having an off-ramp in the future. Okay? It's really not that fucking complicated. It's really not that hard. The practicality is really not that hard if you actually go with it with the thought beforehand. And a lot of MMOs run on completely illegally. Ultima, there's a version of Ultima that runs completely illegally. There are so many MMOs that run completely illegally, and I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to say where to find them, but I'm going to tell you that I've enjoyed the fuck out of those games. Why? Because those are the only ways to play those beautiful worlds that otherwise, because of the game publisher's fucking dogmatic idiocy, would just not exist, period, full stop, whatsoever. And, most of those servers, accept donations, but that's it. They don't make any money. They're in it for, unironically, as the saying goes, the love of the game. I'm not going to dox those games because I don't want to see them fucking shut down. What are you asking for would ban online-only games? Not at all. This was something that Pirate Software said. Oh, you're gonna ruin online-only games. First of all, I'll meme and say, hey, sign me the fuck up. You already convinced me. You didn't have to kiss me while you're convincing me. Because if there's a chance I could go back in my life and never play League of Legends, I would take it in a heartbeat. But that's just a meme. That is not the case here. This is not interfering with business activity when a game is being actively supported in any way, shape, or form. It's just talking about an off-ramp. Like, you know, basically what would amount to, in the case of League of Legends, Riot Games, because they're actively supporting the game right now, it would be League of Legends 2, would have to have an off-ramp, where when they finally shut down League of Legends 2 in the year 2050 or 2055 or whatever, you know, they would have a way for us to be able to host our own map of Summoner's Rift, or Summoner's, you know, let's not call it Rift, Summoner's Dominion or whatever, mixing another map that, you know, Riot killed. And if you're able to do that and just be able to have like a peer-to-peer version, even if the ping was dog shit, it would at least be a way for us to play the game. Kind of like how old Warcraft 3 maps worked. Because that's exactly how those fucking things worked, which is what League was based off of. Unironically, which is pretty funny. Games, okay, so these are the types of video games that StopKillingGames.com is talking about. This is the longer explanation. So, games sold as a one-time purchase with no stated expiration date are not impacted by initiative at all, period, full stop. Those are the online, completely not online games at all. This is like playing Max Payne 1, for example. Max Payne 1 is not purview to this game. That, you know, the publisher could still kill that game and not release it. And a lot of Nintendo games, this is the way to get around Nintendo and Sony, because Nintendo and Sony love killing their old games. So this doesn't affect those games. Sadly, that would have to be covered in another thing. That's not covered in this at all. So, you know, Pirate Software tries to bring this up. It's not even involved. Games sold as a one-time purchase with no stated expiration date that require connection to the publisher or affiliated parties to function. Publishers would be required to implement an end-of-life plan so that the support would no longer be necessary to run it once it's shut down. An example of this is actually one of the most failed games in the past 5 years. The actual Marvel's game, Marvel's Avengers. Marvel's Avengers was a complete abject shit show that had support ended over 2 years ago. However, if I go on to Marvel's Avengers, I'm not able to play it online. But that's okay. Because if I ever get the feeling of nostalgia that I want to play as, you know, a very jank-looking Captain America, then I could play the single-player part of it. It's, even though it had an online component that was baked into the game, you don't have to play it online. And they allow you to play it completely offline, no worries. In this case, this is a prime example of what we're asking all publishers to do. Whereas if you're playing Ubisoft The Crew, which is a racing game, which has an online component and an offline component, all we're asking is that you don't shut down the fucking single player mode as well, which is exactly what has happened. So many games now, Watch Dogs and this and that, there's so many games, you know, Dark Souls did this for a little bit as well, but they fixed their shit. They had an online component that would affect the offline component, where if you were playing the game and your internet went out, which would happen sometimes, and, you know, not everyone had, you know, cable internet at the time or whatever, and then it would completely disconnect you from the game and it would send you back to the previous save point and completely fuck you over in the single player mode. That is what the online only component, like the online component affecting the single player is. And we hate that shit. We're asking for that to not be the case when a publisher ends support for a game. That's really it on that one note. Games that are completely free, no impact, no commerce is involved. This is like talking about, you know, Flash games from Newgrounds or whatever. You know, as much as I love those games, once those games are not supported, they're not supported. We didn't spend money on it. It's fine. Microtransactions for games sold as a one-time purchase with no stated expiration date. Publisher would be required to implement an end-of-life support plan, so when the customer microtransaction would not be permanently disabled. So, if you buy a fucking gacha waifu and they shut down Genshin Impact, you don't lose your Genshin waifu. Is that such a bad thing? Maybe you want your Genshin waifu forever. If you're a fucking player of gacha games, you're probably going to love StopKillingGames.com. And if you are a fucking gacha game player, if you play Zenless Zone Zero or Woo-Wah or whatever, you're going to really appreciate this. Because this means you won't lose your Genshin waifus. You won't be able to show them off online, but at least you can like look at them lovingly in a single-player mode. That's not so bad. At least it's not completely gone. And games that are sold as a service with a stated expiration date. We would attempt to require publisher to have some support, but it wouldn't work, so it's not really a big deal. That's it. Those are the games covered. That's it.
You
talk
transitioning an entire
here's the next part.
Server-side game into a single-player video game, which means rebalancing the entire experience around single player.
No one is asking for this. I showed you how we're not asking for this, but again, no one is asking for this. Marvel's Heroes Omega was balanced around having a 10-man team for various parts of the game. If I could play this fully single player, I would. There's a game called The Secret World. Secret World was an MMO made by Funcom, who now makes the Dune game. The Funcom of the past made a Secret World game, which is an MMO that was based around vampires and werewolves and Cthulhu and stuff. Really fucking cool game. And the game died. And that sucked. However, if you go to Funcom's website and you had a profile back then, so that means you bought the game at that time, you played it at that time, you had an active profile, you can still download the game and play with like a ghost town where no one else is online. Like the servers do technically work. So they actually, Funcom deserves huge credit for that, by the way, because they could have killed their game and they didn't. This is an example of how they didn't kill their game, by the way, and how they deserve full credit. You can still play The Secret World, and I have played a solid 20 hours of The Secret World in the last year out of sheer nostalgia because I love that MMO. And none of that game is made for single player in terms of none of the dungeons or the raids or any of the harder content or anything. So going through that as a single player is fucking painful. But did I expect them to, rebalance the entire experience around single player by allowing us access to the game? No. They just said, hey, we're doing this because we love the world that we created, and if you're still able to play it, go for it. And if you don't have access to your account, by the way, you can never get back in the game. And they said that straight up, and that's fine. Like, we're not asking them to bend over backwards and figure out a support thing and, dive into their fucking old records to find our usernames and password. No one's asking for that. Or no one with a brain is asking. Maybe some fan is asking for that. But most people are not asking for that. We know that shit is hard to find. So we'll take what we can get. And that level of support to at least be able to dive into the world and it just isn't erased off the face of the earth is all we're asking for. None of it is rebalanced. No one wanted that. No one cared about that.
Player, rebuilding everything in the entire game. How are you going to do that with Final Fantasy XIV?
No one's asked for this. This is what Pirate Software has done with this entire movement. You'll look at all of these clips, you'll look at all of his actual videos, and you will find that what he does is he doesn't actually respond to the real objectives. He doesn't actually respond to any of the actual FAQ parts. And all he does is make up his own argument in his own mind, his own problem, and says the problem that he made up cannot be fixed. This problem doesn't exist. He's the one making the problem. No one is asking for any of this to be soloable or anything rebalanced. None of it. Absolutely none.
Nowhere in there does it say that it's directly targeting always online single-player games.
Because it's not. It's not targeting always online single-player games. That's one aspect of the thing, but it's like a 1% thing. If a game runs into that problem, we're just saying don't turn off the offline version. That's it. That's it. That's literally it.
Developers putting together a live service game, pitching it as a single-player experience, and then taking away support in the future.
Now he's changed it again and is making up how it's about single-player games are advertised.
Which is not the case. This is not the case, never been the case, never will be the case.
It's trying to defeat, which is specifically companies that are doing this under the guise of it being a single-player game, but adding online-only functionality that is not necessary and doesn't add any gameplay elements. That's the problem.
No, that's not it at all.
And there are some people that'll say, well, just make it all single player.
Like
well,
you?
I've explained that doesn't make any sense in the first place. If you're making it all single player, you'd have to carve off all of that, and it's developer time and money.
No one's asking for that. We're just saying don't turn off the game. That's it. That's literally it. Nothing else.
These are two different ideologies, and that's okay to have.
By the way, the reason that he's so up in arms about this is he is developing a brand new game. That is a live service game. And I think this is why he's so pissed. So I want to point out what he's making. New live service game from Pirate Software. It's like Smash Brothers. What is it called? Rivals of Aether. That's what it's called. I forgot the name of it. This one. Rivals of Aether 2. That is literally it. So he's making Rivals of Aether 2. Here it is. Rivals of Aether 2. And the reason that he is all up in arms about the live service games is because he's making a live service game. If that doesn't show a disingenuous nature, I don't know what does. I really don't know what does. By the way, a lot of people don't even like the game. So it's like, dude, come on, man. What are you doing here, man? What are you doing here? Maybe that's why he's so upset. I'm not sure.
Two different ideologies. I just won't agree with it.
But those aren't the ideologies. Nothing in the initiative is asking to convert games to single player.
Exactly.
Nowhere in there does it say that it's directly targeting always online single player games.
Because it's not.
We don't like the idea of live service games as a whole. I get it. Don't play live service games then. Don't agree to those terms.
We just don't want them to die. And he talks about, like, later on, how much people, don't like live service. If we didn't like live service games, we wouldn't be fighting so hard to fucking save live service games. And at least have the world still exist for us to play in. That's the majority of the games that StopKillingGames.com would save. And this is something that Pirate Software is just antithetically against, or he just doesn't understand, or he's not allowing himself to understand. Whatever it is, I don't get why.
Business practices. In the case that a studio is making a live service game, and they sell it to you as a product, they say that you are purchasing the game, or you are buying the game, when in reality you're actually purchasing or buying a license to that game. I think that we should be fighting about that. The initiative is not trying to call that out specifically.
That's because it's not in the purview. Why he's looking at StopKillingGames.com and saying that, oh, it doesn't do this, it's not supposed to. We have a very limited amount of space in this petition and a very limited amount of bandwidth. We don't want to overcomplicate an already complicated situation. This situation is so not complicated that he's already getting it wrong. So why the fuck would we complicate it with yet another thing that has nothing to do with any of this situation? It's absolutely insane.
If you try to tell me that every studio needs to run their live service game indefinitely or not want to run one at all, then no one's going to run them.
No one is asking. It's in the FAQ. No one is asking for a game to be ran forever. No one has asked this. It is unrealistic. It would be dog shit if it was asked of these companies. No one is asking of it. That is it. And these are prime examples of how you could play these games. And, I would put actually Marvel's Avengers on there as well. Because, Marvel's Avengers was a fantastic and brutal failure. But one thing that they handled was the off-ramp. Here's a prime example. So this is Ross's own example, but I'll explain it to you. So this is the server, this is the client, this is you and me, third-party middleware. And these are the services that make the server work. And these are needed to make a video game work. A lot of the modern day MMOs and modern day live service games. And so when a game loses service, all of these die. And all of these connections die and the server shreds and no one can play the game ever. What we're asking for is like a little like patch here, a little patch here, a little patch here, where, you know, there's an off-ramp for these companies to know they're going to have to figure out a way to at least release the game in a not completely broken state for us to be able to play. Will it cost them some resources? Yeah, it'll cost them a little bit of resources. But that's the entire point of consumer protection laws. That is the entire point. We're trying to change how these companies work in the future so they don't keep fucking us over. Yeah, it's going to cost them a little bit. So fucking what? That's the entire point. If we weren't trying to do something worth it, what the fuck is the point of the movement? Genuinely. So yeah, absolutely. And here's a visual example. This little thing, you know, and also a lot of these services that wouldn't provide an off-ramp will be replaced by ones who do, because these companies that are doing the, you know, the specialized services for these servers, for these online video games and stuff, they're trying to make money as well. So if another company provides the EU compliant off-ramp, that's fine. We'll work with the other company. Capitalism solves this problem on its own. So he plays Diablo 4. He plays Path of Exile. He plays Destiny. Diablo 3, Diablo Immortal. All of these games would be saved under StopKillingGames.com. Under Pirate Software's stance, all of these games would be killed. Fallout 76 is a prime example. That's an online-only game. Warframe is another example. A very loved game. Overwatch 1, which is gone. By the way, Overwatch 1 is a prime example. No one can play Overwatch 1. Why? Because Blizzard, as a publisher, is allowed to kill the game completely. No one has access to Overwatch 1. And when Overwatch 2 was in its darkest days, before Marvel's Rivals came out as well, ask those people, those Overwatch fans, would you have at least wanted to play Overwatch 1? They would say, fuck yes. Hearthstone, Division. The list goes on and on and on of games that StopKillingGames.com would save. Helldivers 2. A day will come when Helldivers 2 gets killed. And StopKillingGames.com movement would potentially try to save it by saying, Sony, before you kill the game, at least let us host peer-to-peer servers, or allow us to play it at least completely offline, or maybe via like LAN or something like that. Even if it costs a lot of money for us to do to get like, you know, a second PS5 or whatever the fuck, at least we'd be able to do it. Elite Dangerous, Rainbow Six Siege, Lost Ark, Infinity Nikki, which is an online-only game apparently, Dark Tide, which is like Vermintide and so on, co-op shooter, Back for Blood, same thing, Need for Speed, Sea of Thieves, War Thunder. All of those games would be saved under the StopKillingGames.com movement. So all I can really think is that Pirate Software has no real intention to save games in the first place, which is absolutely fucking wild. And this is it's just really, really sad to see, because Pirate Software is a pretty smart guy. So I feel like he knows what he's saying, which kind of makes it worse. Either he doesn't know what he's saying, in which case he's just being bullheaded and dumb, or he does know what he's saying, and then he's just being a dick. So which one is it, guys? I really don't know. But I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What do you guys think is going on here with Pirate Software? Why do you think he's so against it? But I don't know if he'll ever see this video. If anyone from Pirate Software's community sees this video, please do. You know, share it with him, let him know, because I really think that he's doing himself a disservice, because, you know, as he tries to paint himself and portray himself and acts like, and at least in other ways he is a very consumer-facing person and one who wants to protect consumers' rights, this entire movement is towards that end. And it's for something that we all love, games. And I think I've very clearly explained, and Ross clearly explained as well, but I mean, I explained in my own way, with my own various words, probably worse than, Accursed Farms did, but maybe he'll listen to me or some other content creator. Maybe he'll listen to Charlie. Charlie just made a video about it, you know, talking about every single aspect as well. But maybe Pirate Software can do the funniest thing ever and actually turn his own reputation around and actually be really consumer facing once again, because he's definitely taken a hit by deleting comments, by being bullheaded, by refusing to engage with legitimate, non-threatening, non-aggressive discussion about this very real issue that is a consumer-facing issue. Those are all my thoughts, guys. I want to hear what you guys think in the comments below. It's a very long-winded discussion, but I hope you guys really liked it. It's a little bit choppy. I do apologize about that. You know, it's a pretty much kind of a rush job, considering. And if you are not signed up for the StopKillingGames.com movement, but you are a European citizen, you can sign up. Any European citizen can. It's incredibly easy to do. We're halfway, and we still have about a month. So, you know, this could be something that we can hit July 31st. There's a lot of people in EU. If you have friends in the EU, share this video with them, or don't even share my video. Share Christian Farms' video. Share, Charlie's video, Moist Critical's video. Share anyone else's video on it, and share the website with them so they can sign up. It's incredibly easy to do. That's all you need to do to join the fucking petition. It's a very good cause. Let's stop killing video games. Let's start saving video games, and it starts here. And then you can save other games. It would be a wonderful thing. Those are all my thoughts. I would love to hear yours in the comments below. Thank you guys for your time. Thank you guys for your enjoyment. And I hope this hits a chord with you, because it's a very, very important thing. And it's easily one of the biggest issues with video games right now. And the fact that, you know, what is it, like 90% of games media over the past, since, you know, video games were created, is just gone, dead and gone, and we have no way to get it back. We have no way to access it or anything of that nature, which is way above the amount of media that is destroyed for any other type of media. Way more than old books, way more than old movies, way more than old music, way more than old art. All those things are easier to get. All of the old versions of any kind of old art, media is easier to get than video games. And video games are the youngest of all of those group of things. They've existed for less time, so they're more modern. And somehow we've lost those faster than old books, old movies, old music, old everything else. It's fucking crazy. And if things don't change, at some point we'll run into a time where all the games that you love now, Marvel's Rivals, you know, Diablo 4, Last Epoch, Path of Exile, World of Warcraft, Overwatch 1 is already dead, but Overwatch 2 is alive. That doesn't have to die. Valorant, League of Legends. These are all games that could be saved if the StopKillingGames.com movement succeeds. Genshin Impact, all your fucking gacha games. There you go. So hear me out, guys. If you love any of those games and you're a European citizen, sign for that movement. If you're not a European citizen, send it to a friend who is. Those are all my thoughts. Catch you guys in the next video. Definitely give me your thoughts. I would love to hear it. And I hope you guys liked my passion. And I hope you guys liked the points I tried to bring up. And thank you guys for your time. Much love, guys. Take care.